ಓಂ ಸ್ಥಾಪಕಾಯ ಚ ಧರ್ಮಸ್ಯ ಸರ್ವಧರ್ಮಸ್ವರೂಪಿಣಿ ಅವತಾರ ವರಿಷ್ಠಾಯ ರಾಮಕೃಷ್ಣಾಯ ತೇ ನಮಃ. ಸ್ವಾಮಿ ವಿಮೋಕ್ಷಾನಂದಜಿ ಮಹಾರಾಜ್. ಈಗಾಗಲೇ ಬಸವನಗುಡಿ ರಾಮಕೃಷ್ಣ ಮಠದ ಎಲ್ಲ ಭಕ್ತರಿಗೂ ಕೂಡ ಅವರ ಪರಿಚಯ ಅಂತಕ್ಕಂಥದ್ದು ಬಹಳ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ ಆಗಿದೆ. ಸುಮಾರು ಒಂದೂವರೆ ತಿಂಗಳ ಹಿಂದೆ ಸ್ವಾಮೀಜಿಯವರು 2 ವಾರಗಳ ಕಾಲ, ಅಂದರೆ 2 ದಿನಗಳ ಕಾಲ ಅತ್ಯುತ್ತಮವಾದಂತಹ ಒಂದು ಉಪನ್ಯಾಸವನ್ನು ಕೊಟ್ಟು ಭಕ್ತರನ್ನು ಮೋಡಿಗೊಳಿಸಿದರು. ಈಗ ಸ್ವಾಮೀಜಿಯವರು ತಮಿಳುನಾಡಿನ ಯಲಗಿರಿ ಅಂತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಒಂದು ಆಶ್ರಮದ ಅಧ್ಯಕ್ಷರಾಗಿ ಸೇವೆಯನ್ನು ಸಲ್ಲಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಇದಕ್ಕೆ ಮುಂಚೆ ಸ್ವಾಮೀಜಿಯವರು ವಿದೇಶಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡಿ ಬಂದಿದ್ದರು. ಆ ಆಶ್ರಮ ಅಂತಕ್ಕಂಥದ್ದು ಎಷ್ಟು ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿದೆ ಅಂತಂದರೆ ಒಂದು ಸರಿ ಹೋಗಿಬಿಟ್ರೆ ಮತ್ತೆ ಬರಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಮನಸ್ಸು ಬರಲ್ಲ, ಅಷ್ಟು ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿದೆ. ಸ್ವಾಮೀಜಿ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಭಕ್ತರಿಗೆ ಸತ್ಸಂಗಗಳನ್ನು ಕೂಡ ಏರ್ಪಡಿಸಿ ನಡೆಸ್ಕೊಂಡು ಹೋಗ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಇವತ್ತು ಸ್ವಾಮೀಜಿಯವರು ಒಂದು ಕಾರ್ಯನಿಮಿತ್ತ ಬೆಳಗಾವಿಗೆ ಬಂದಿದ್ದರು. ಅವರನ್ನು ನಾವು ಕೇಳಿಕೊಂಡಾಗ ಸ್ವಾಮೀಜಿಯವರ ಮಹಾಸಮಾಧಿ ಈ ವಿಚಾರವಾಗಿ ಮಾತನಾಡೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಒಪ್ಪಿ ಬಂದಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಅವರಿಗೆ ರಾಮಕೃಷ್ಣ ಮಠ ಬಸವನಗುಡಿಯ ಭಕ್ತರ ಪರವಾಗಿ, ಆಶ್ರಮದ ಪರವಾಗಿ ಸ್ವಾಗತವನ್ನು ಬಯಸ್ತೇನೆ. ಜಯ ರಾಮಕೃಷ್ಣ. ವೆಲ್ಕಮ್ ಸ್ವಾಮೀಜಿ.
ಓಂ ಅಖಂಡಮಂಡಲಾಕಾರಂ ವ್ಯಾಪ್ತಂ ಯೇನ ಚರಾಚರಂ ತತ್ಪದಂ ದರ್ಶಿತಂ ಯೇನ ತಸ್ಮೈ ಶ್ರೀ ಗುರವೇ ನಮಃ. ಹರಿ ಓಂ. ಓಂ ನಮೋ ಭಗವತೆ ಶ್ರೀರಾಮಕೃಷ್ಣಾಯ. Dear devotees and my brother monks, it gives me great pleasure to be with you once more. A few weeks back I had been here and we discussed some concepts of Vedantic devotion. Today is the 3rd July. And you know, tomorrow, the 4th July, is a very important date for the Ramakrishna Vivekananda devotees. Because 4th July is remembered by all of us as Swamiji's Mahasamadhi day. Swamiji left his mortal coil on 4th July 1902. So, and now it is 2022. So just 120 years have passed after Swamiji's merging into Mahasamadhi. So I thought today we may discuss a few things about Swamiji's Mahasamadhi and how it has got some bearings on our life. At this time, I remember a simple story that we all know of from Mahabharata. Mahabharata contains, of course, many stories. Apart from the main theme of Pandavas, Kauravas, the progression in life, their meeting challenges in different ways, and finally the victory of the Pandavas by the help of Lord Sri Krishna. There are hundreds and thousands of upakathas in Mahabharata. So each katha, each story of Mahabharata itself can be a separate film. Such a great level our great Maharishi Vyasadeva has written that. So one such digression comes there that suddenly Panchapandavas became very thirsty, and nearby in the forest they didn't get anywhere even a drop of water. So naturally, the leader Yudhishthira asked Sahadeva to go and search, because Sahadeva is the junior most. So he said, you go and get water for us. That Sahadeva went, he never came back. Time is up. They are more and more thirsty. So Yudhishthira sent Nakula. Nakula also did not come. Now to whom he should send? He should send naturally Arjun. Arjun did not come. Then his next brother Bhima. Bhima also did not come back. Seeing these 4 of his brothers did not come back, Yudhishthira got intrigued. What is the reason? Each one goes in search of water and none has come back, and my thirst also has increased so much. I may die also without water. So he also gets into the forest in search of these 4 brothers and the water. And suddenly he found from a distance a beautiful pushkara, a pond he found. And the water is so bluish, it's excellent water. So he was so thirsty, he just started entering into the pond and taking the water by 2 hands. He was about to drink. At that time, he heard one ashariri, that is a voice without sharira. We all have voices, but we have shariras also. But there can be voices without sharira. So that ashariri stopped him. Yudhishthira, don't drink the water unless you answer all my questions. I will not allow you to drink. And Yudhishthira was looking here and there. Nobody is there. But the voice is telling him, controlling him. Then he was again, without carrying it, he was about to drink. Again it said, look, your 4 brothers are lying there. Then Yudhishthira saw all the 4 brothers are lying dead there. So he will also die if he drinks the water, unless he answers the questions. So that is called a beautiful passage in Mahabharata called Yaksha Prashna. Prashna means question. Yaksha is one of the divine beings. You know, we are all humans, animals, birds, and like that there are different levels of beings are there. So like that among the divine beings also, there are different levels. So one form is Yaksha. So Yaksha said, I am Yaksha speaking, you have to answer my questions. So he left the water and Yudhishthira stood up and said, oh Yaksha, you want questions to be answered. Okay, go ahead. Then one after another, Yaksha raises a question. In one of the questions, 26th I think, Yaksha asks Yudhishthira, Ko modate, who is happy? Like that he asked. In that verse, one question comes. In somewhere, single question he puts. Somewhere he puts combined 4-5 questions together. So Yudhishthira also answers. If it is a single question, single answer. If it is a combined question, combined answer. Like that Yudhishthira answers. So one beautiful question was that what is wonderful thing in this world? For that, I have to refer to this. Just a minute. What is wonderful in this world? You just think of what could be. If you have read that Yaksha Prashna and you know what Yudhishthira gave reply, you know the reply. Okay. But if you have not read it, think of it. I am giving you on a few seconds to think. What could be the wonderful thing in this world? That means that something is happening by seeing which you are at great wonder. You are in awe. You do not know what is this. Like that there is a feeling that comes. So Yudhishthira answers, Ahan yahani bhutani gachanti hai yamalayam. He says Yamalayam. You see how the beautiful word he puts it. Even he doesn't want to discredit Yama or accuse Yama in any way. So he says that Yamalayam, Alayam, where Yama's Alayam. So he says, people go on going there. How they are going? Gachanti, present continuous tense. Gachanti, we see that. People are going to Yamalayam. Not people, merely people. It is Bhutani. All those people who are born, who have taken birth, are going to Yamalayam. And when do they go? Is there any particular time, particular date that they go to Yamalayam? No. Ahanhuni. That means moment after moment. In this very moment, if you take a proper statistics, in America, I found one big clock, and hour, minute, seconds, they come up. And underneath, what is the number of the newborn babies at the last second? They show it. So to see that the whole world, they are somehow calculating that and putting that number. It goes on increasing. So likewise, if anybody takes the measurement or the number, counting the number of the death, can you count? You can't count. Till today, even in one day, how many people died, you don't know. Even in accidents, modern newspapers, they say maybe 50, maybe 60, like that they are putting it. Exact account also they cannot give for small number. And what is in koti number, how can you give? So he says, at what time? Ahanahuni. Every moment from moment, people are going to Yamalayam. Instead of telling, people are dying, he is putting it very poetically. And then he says, Seshaha Stavaram Ichanti. Seshaha means those who have not gone to Yamalayam. So we are all like that. We come under Seshaha. We are all Sesha because we have not gone to Yamalayam still now. So what we are thinking, Stavaram Ichanti. We shall be remaining always. We shall be always living. Sta means to stay. So this sta. So we are always staying. So then he says, Kimasharya Athaf Param is asking a question in the form, he is telling a reply in the form of a question to Yama. Yama put a question, what is the most wonderful thing? So he should say, the people are dying every moment, and those people who are not dying, thinking they will remain forever. That is the answer. But Yudhishthira is a very intelligent person, you see. Among the five, he is the most intelligent. And he says to Yama, the Yaksha, the Yaksha is nothing but, none but Yama. Yama only comes in the form of Yaksha to test his own son. That is the later story. But the point is, here reference is that Yudhishthira puts a reply also in the form of a question. Atah param asharyam. He says, what is there more asharya than this? So if Yaksha thinks there is something more than this, he should not say that, because he has already declared there is nothing more than this wonderful thing. What a beautiful, intelligent answer he gave. So, whoever is born in this universe, whoever means not only humans, all bhutani, all jivas, whoever is born must leave the body one day. So, that merely leaving is not only certain. There are two aspects are there to this, which is very, very certain in this world. Not only leaving, but also taking another birth. That is also certain. So in Gita you find Sri Krishna advises Arjuna, and he says that why are you worried about this factor of birth and death? Because whoever is born must die. Whoever dies must reborn. So why are you unnecessarily worried about this? So Arjuna is informed by Sri Krishna. So we find this birth and death is in everyone's life. Is it so true even to the sages? Yes. Those who have taken human body must leave the human body one day or other. Some siddhas, I have heard about some siddhas in Tamil Nadu, in gufas, in some beautiful hills. They live for 200 years, 240 years, like that they say. Even though you stay for 240 years, after the end of 240 years, you have to leave the body. So the body must be left and you have to go. Even 1000 years have gone. Now after Swami, the great Ramanujacharya's leaving the body. He left the body, but 1000 years gone, his body is still there. But the being, the prana that was staying inside that body, is it there now? It is not in that body. It is gone. So even to the highest stages, even to the highest avatara purushas, they have to leave the body one day. So leaving the body is not to be considered as something wrong or something inauspicious. In North India, if you go to Uttarkashi, Rishikesh, etc., so if sadhu dies and they greatly rejoice, they make a big function. They give bhandara to the common public because the sadhu has left the body, which is the source of bondage for the sadhu. So the sadhu is now free from the bondage. So the death is considered more auspicious than birth. So instead of celebrating the Janma Tithi, they celebrate the Prayata Tithi. So that Tithi is more important for them. So you see, the death is not should be considered to be as inauspicious. It is also as joyful as the birth is. When a baby is born, what do we greet the parents? Oh, congratulations. You have got a bundle of joy today. We write to them in the message. Bundle of joy. And when somebody goes, our deep condolences. We write. We need to write condolences. What is there to condolent about that? That is also a joyful occasion. That's why in our mission, when sadhus pass away, we don't mourn their death. We have memorial meetings and we joyfully speak about their past. How the sadhu influenced me, like that we speak. We don't mourn. So the death is not to be considered as inauspicious. So one message I got today, that Swamiji, today you are going to speak on the Mahasamadhi of Swamiji. Why to speak on the death of that great saint Vivekananda? So I wrote to that devotee, you see, birth is as holy and glorious. Likewise, death also is speaking about his glory only. That's why, since tomorrow is the date that Swami Vivekananda passed his mortal coil, he left his mortal coil. So we generally think about that, how he left this. It is a great thing to think in any aspect of Swami Vivekananda. Whether he was as a child Naren, or as a young Naren, or when he comes as a disciple of Sri Ramakrishna, or as a wanderings, any aspect of his life you take, till the last day of his death. That is 4th July 1902. You can take up any aspect. There is a beautiful book written by Eastern and Western disciples. This is called Life of Swami Vivekananda. It is coming in 2 volumes. It's English 2 volumes. You can purchase and read that. Such a wonderful, detailed analysis of Swamiji's life. The beauty of that book is Swami Virajanandaji was the source for making that book coming out. So, at many places, when the incidents are reported by many, Western, Eastern disciples, he has commented upon them. So, wherever you get the comment, an explanatory statement along with the incident, you must know those were all written by Swami Virajanandaji. He was initiated disciple of Swami Vivekananda. So he wrote like that. So you can see that how wonderfully Swamiji's life can be approached with great humility. And when you read that, any aspect of Swamiji, it is a very solemn affirmation that God is and God can be realized. And that God is in every being, and serving every being is seeing that God. Only 4 statements. You can see Swamiji's life, how it exemplifies this. So, we come to this last day on 4th July. 5th July, the next day, Swamiji's body was kept on the pyre. It is a very, very moving scenery, I tell you. When I read that incident, I had to shed tears. It was so moving. The pyre has been lit and body has been kept there. And now his disciples were there and they going round the pyre 3 times and they took the fire and kept it. Slowly the wood started taking the fire and it started burning. From the lower portion, it starts burning. And when it is burned, it comes up to the top and burns the whole body. You must have seen how the smashana kriyas are done. Even for all of us, we all have to go through it. Nowadays, of course, machines have come. You just put the body into the machine, in 1 hour, 1.5 hours, it becomes ashes. But in the ancient days, or even the modern days, at many places, this dahana kriya is done. If you go to Kashi, you can go there to different ghats, and you can find minute to minute bodies are brought, and they are burnt. So you can see how difficult the body gets burnt. So it was burning and the flames were up. And all the Swamis, everybody was sitting around that. The exact very place that was done where now the big temple of Swami Vivekananda is erected. And the place where his body was kept, Swamiji's altar is there now. When you go to Belur and see Swami Vivekananda's temple, you can see that altar. And there you can understand that very place where his body was lying and it was burnt. So now you see, all the Swamis have come. And already the news has reached Calcutta. Plenty of people have come. More than 1,000 people have come in those days. And Belur, they are all sitting. And at that moment, Sister Nivedita also was there. I was for 3 years in Ireland. She is an Irish woman, you all know that. She came from Ireland. And she was the disciple of Swami Vivekananda. Vivekananda gave that wonderful name Nivedita. Is a beautiful Indian term. Nivedita, one who is surrendered or one who has dedicated. The dedicated woman she was. And she was also sitting with profuse tears. Her guru has gone. She never expected he would go so soon. So she was almost crying. And Swamiji was clothed with the new Garua cloth. That body was covered. And where naturally when the body itself is being burnt, what to speak of the cloth? So the cloth also getting burnt and it is coming out. And when the breeze was coming a little faster, at that time the pieces of Swamiji's cloth was just moving from here to there. It is just on the air. The wind came and it was taking it aloft. And Nivedita sitting there weeping, she said, Swamiji, you have left. Give me some memento. I want to keep with me. One piece of that cloth which was flying in the air, it came and fell at her place. She took it. This scene has influenced me so much. You see, Swamiji while living, he was, what powerfulness he had. Even after leaving the body, he was such powerful. So you can see that on the last day, how this happened? How did he die like that? Was he suffering from any medical disease? Yes, he had diabetes, of course. He had some problem, this enlargement of heart as they say, he had. But all those things contributed to his death. That was a big, a controversy at that time. 2-3 doctors were called, a specialist, and the doctors among themselves could not even agree with each other. What was the cause of death? Anyway, Swamiji passed away on that day, 4th July. But before, a few days before, I should say, I will take you about 6 months before. He passed away in the month of July. I am talking about from January. Once in January, he went to Banaras. And from Banaras, he came back to Belur Math. The direct disciples who were there at that time in the Belur Math, they noticed a small difference in Swamiji's behavior. Swamiji is always joyful. He would cut jokes with his brothers. And when the brahmacharis come, more jokes. He will always be bubbly. That Swamiji has suddenly become more, felt that he is internalizing his mind, he is withdrawing his mind from outside and is turning his mind internally. Like that they felt. 1 or 2, of course, they noticed this. But it was not much. He used to sit a little longer time for meditation. That they noticed. But then it was almost over. Once he comes to the place where people take food, there he is always jolly. He cuts jokes with the vegetables, with the fish, with everything. So it is all funny. That all the fun, they understand that. But some people marked that he is spending more time in meditation. And it was going on. The month of June came. So Sister Nivedita wrote, she was at that time outside Bengal. She wrote to Swamiji, Swamiji, I am coming on June 6th or 7th. She said, I am coming. So I would like to come and have your darshan. So please take care of your health, etc., etc. As a disciple, what she should write to Guru, she has written. So Swamiji received that. And Swamiji was there in that Belur Math only. And she has come. She went and met first Holy Mother because her place is nearer to her place. Sister Nivedita moved to 17, that in Bagh Bazar, she moved to that place. And then she is there quite okay. And then she thought, let me go to Belur Math and meet my Gurudev. But strangely, 2 days before her going to Belur Math, Swamiji had come to Calcutta for some work. And he thought, let me go and meet Nivedita at her place. So he went. Because Nivedita came from Lucknow at that time. She has brought so many items with her to show to Swamiji and get his approval for her education project for Indian women. Think of a foreign lady coming to India working for us. And she has brought so many items. So Swamiji heard about that. So he could not contain his curiosity. Let me go and see all those things. So in that house where Sister Nivedita was there, when Swamiji came, she washed his feet and she took him inside, and then Swamiji sat there, tell me what you brought. So she brought a camera, a microscope, like that, educational apparatus as we call it nowadays. So those things she brought and telling Swamiji, Swamiji, this is what I am going to teach the girls. Like that she is explaining what is her concept of a university. And that was the time, after that only she started that Bagh Bazar, that girls' school, where Swamiji gave full approval. And Swamiji was extremely delighted. Because he wanted Sister Nivedita to spend her days in the service of her Indian women. And she has already got plans. And she even purchased all those materials. Swamiji was extremely pleased and said, okay, day after tomorrow you come to Belur Math. And then she went to Belur Math. On that day what happened? And Swamiji received her. At the noon time came, he said, you take prasad in the Belur Math. And the prasad was brought by a brahmachari to his room. Swamiji made Nivedita to be seated in the room. If you go to Belur Math, you can see Swamiji's room. In that very room, Sister Nivedita sat on the chair and a table was put for her. And Swamiji served her, his disciple. And after the service was over, she ate very well. She was a little allergic to certain Indian types of spices. Otherwise, she could eat Indian food. So she ate the food. And then she went to the tap side to wash her hands. There Swamiji was standing. In a small pot, already he has filled the water. And he poured water on Nivedita's hands. She was stunned. She couldn't say anything. She washed her hands and he took a towel and dried her hands. And Nivedita says, I never knew at that time that was the last time I am seeing Swamiji, my Guru. What a terrible thing, you see. Nobody knew. And then she said, Swamiji, I have to do seva to you. You are doing seva to me. She was little ashamed that being a disciple, she is getting seva from her Guru. And Swamiji very boldly and very strongly commented to her, look, Jesus washed the feet of his disciples. That's all. One sentence. He made her understand. When Jesus has washed the feet of his disciple, I only wash your hands. That is the meaning. But then, immediately, some idea came into her mind. She was about to utter it to Swamiji. But then Swamiji, that was the last day of his supper. She was about to say, but she contained. She didn't utter those words. And exactly, and one day after, Swamiji left his body. So Nivedita was so close to Swamiji, and all her spirit actually was possessed. That spirit possession we say, like that, Swamiji possessed her and made her work. Whose work it was? It was Mother Kali's work. To put it in our language that we can understand, it was his master's work. His master's work should be done. For that, he utilized Nivedita. And Nivedita was, if you read Nivedita's life, you will be stunned. A foreign woman to that, and how she spent her life those days. Long back, in those days, 120 years back, she was there. And she did certain things which became an example for the later social service people. Many people came from foreign country and they served India. They all had this, how they understood. They all took notice from Nivedita only. Certain clues they took. We see in the history also that. So on that day, she came and she felt so bad. The news reached her. In tears she came to Belur Mutt, and these things went on. But if you ask the direct disciples, they say, we noticed Swamiji was indrawn for some days. But when June, after Nivedita's coming and going away, after that, Swamiji became little careless about mundane affairs. If you tell that somewhere something has happened, he was not commenting. He was just listening. The world will pass on like that. Like that, philosophically, he was giving some comment. And he was nice, jolly with the brahmacharis, playing with the brahmacharis. All those things have been coming slowly to a small portion of his daytime. And rest of the time, he is seated in the temple. 2 hours, 2.5 hours, he is seated there. And when he comes out, when he comes to the Pangat, as we say, Pangat means where all of us sit in a row and eat. That is called Pangat. So lunchtime, nighttime he would not come in, but at noon time he would come and see. And his food would be brought to his room. And then he would eat. And then he would make fun with the others. Those things have been reduced. On the day, on 4th morning, Swamiji went to the temple and closed the doors and windows. And he stayed there from 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. 3 hours completely he was inside the temple. Nobody dared to open the door or knock the door. When Swamiji is sitting in the temple meditating, no one can dare to do that. So everybody was waiting for Swamiji to come. After 3 hours, he came down. And he was the old Swamiji. He was making fun with the brahmacharis. And he was talking to them and called the brahmacharis. And then he discussed with them a Sanskrit grammar. Surprising. And he talked about some sutras from ancient Yajurvedic Sutra, and then he commented upon that. And all these things he is doing. And then he went up to the Belur Math entrance gate. He walked, if you see Brahmanaji's temple, from there you can walk up to the entrance of Belur Math. In that road he walked 2-3 times. And every time, noon time, his meal would go to his room. But on that day, he told Premananji, don't send my meal. Today, I will come and have my meals with all of you. None of them could understand what is the secret of this. Why Swamiji is telling like this. Nobody could foresee why Swamiji is coming to us and sitting with us and eating. If only they had one inkling, how wonderful it is. And then 1 o'clock he came out from his room. Rest is over. We were 11:30 food time. And then he took some rest. 1 o'clock he came out and called Premananji, come with me. Let us walk near the Ganges. And while walking, he is telling so many things about the history, about the future plan of the Ramakrishna mission and where this should be taken to, etc. And Premananji was stunned. And he says, one Vedic college must be founded by us, he is telling. So Premananji was not so much of studied man, no? He was almost a school standard, only he studied. So he told Swamiji, what is the use of studying Vedas now, in the modern days? He put this question and Swamiji became serious. One line reply again. He said, it will remove the superstitions. What a wonderful reply, you see. Today, when Vedas have been brought out into open, and in almost all the languages, translations are being done. You know, Arya Samaj has brought out, published 4 Vedas. In our library in Kanpur, as a brahmachari when I joined, I saw 4 Vedas books are kept on a stool and a big glass case, and in that it was kept. So that should not be harmed by anybody. Sometimes people come, they tear off the pages, etc. That should not be done. So the Vedas when we enter the library, the Vedas, I used to go and make pranam to that. Vedas, nothing but it's such knowledge. Ved means knowledge. Knowledge of whom? Knowledge of Parabrahman. Knowledge of Supreme God. That is called Vedas. So that Vedas, he's telling Vedas, studying Vedas, it will remove superstition from your mind. And on that day, he did many other things. He talked about history. He talked about some of his own devotees who have come to Calcutta. One of his initiated sannyasin nun, she was there, Abhayananda, Swami Abhayananda. She was Swamini. So she has come to Calcutta. So he was inquiring about her. All the talks were going on very nicely. And still none knew the day, the time has come for Swamiji to leave the body. And then he went, and after doing the going around the Belur Math, and then he saw, and he gave instruction to other monks what they should do regarding agriculture, regarding dairy, regarding how to maintain the brahmacharis who are going to come later. How do you train them, etc., etc. He talked many things. And everybody was so happy. Swamiji had extraordinary jest and extraordinary what you call power on that day. So they thought Swamiji has recovered from his illness. Because he was suffering, he was a little tired, etc. But all the tiredness is gone. So he is recovered from his illness, so how wonderful it is. So they felt very happy, but none could understand this. As the light, they say, as the light before its finishing off, it gives more shining. That type of day was that on that day. But nobody could imagine. And everything also, the Arati bell went on. At the time, Brahmacharis and Swamis, they all went to the temple. So Swamiji went to his room. He told his attendant brahmachari, sit here. When I call, you come. He said. And then that boy was sitting outside and Swamiji stood on, and he sat on his meditation. You know Swamiji, when he sits, he was a yogi. So in the yogic posture, he sat facing the Ganges. And he was in deep meditation. So after 2 hours after, this boy, the brahmachari, went inside and he saw Swamiji's body was perspiring. So he took a fan and he sat there and started fanning Swamiji. So it was going on. Another 1 hour gone. The bell is gone. Everybody has taken food. But Swamiji, food he has not taken. So other Swamijis were coming. Vivekananda was there. He came. He said he wondered what. Then they said, Swamiji, and at that time he told the brahmachari, he opened his eyes. He said, I want to just lie down. Put my feet straight. So the brahmachari helped Swamiji and his feet was put straight and he slanted on the bed and he lay down. And something is going on inside. The brahmachari could feel there is a tremendous spiritual power has come into the room. What is that he cannot say. And nobody could say, ask also Swamiji, 3 hours you meditate in the temple, closing the doors and windows. What did you do there? Did you meet your master? Did you meet the Divine Mother Kali? What did you say? What did you speak to them? Nobody knows. But after this, he did a very heavy sigh of relief like that. He breathed his last. And there was some blood that came out from his nostrils and eyes, they say. In yogic language, it is called the Brahmarandra, the soul or the Atman, that is Atma which is there, that Jivatma, that goes through the highest chakra. So at that time, it shatters the blood nerves. At that time, the blood comes out through nostril and eyes. So that is the sign of great rishis who pass away. That means their death is not like our death. But then it is parting of the body. In that, our parting of the body, his parting of the body is same. But we again take birth. We again come bound by the law of karma. We again come. But for them, there is no rebirth. Yad gatva, so you don't come back. That Parandhama is my place, Sri Krishna says. So that Parandhama he goes. So wherever he goes, whatever he goes, that may be our guesswork. But that we let us leave that. But what we are trying to say is that he came for a specific purpose. And how did he come? He was not interested to come. He was deeply meditating in Saptarishi Mandala. It was Sri Ramakrishna who, or the Parabrahman, who became later Sri Ramakrishna. Because it was the avatar is something like that, we must understand that when God takes incarnation, he comes into the world. This God means what? You know, in English, we use one word God. I tell again and again to our devotees, don't confuse this God with several terms that we have in our languages. In Sanskrit you take, or in the vernacular languages in India, any language, you have some specific terms for certain levels of God's realization. So you say, Parabrahman is the highest. So, Nirakar, Nirguna, Parabrahman. And then you find another type of level of understanding God is Nirakara, but Saguna Brahman. Then another level comes Saguna, Sakara, Saguna Brahman. Like that you get levels. And then you get Parameshwara. Then you get another level. Parameshwara takes 3 forms: creation, sustenance, and dissolution. So Puranas comes here. Puranas say the creative power of that Parameshwara is Brahma. The sustaining power of that Parameshwara is Vishnu. And the dissolving power of Parameshwara is Shiva. Like that Puranas go into different branches. And the sustaining power, that is Vishnu, takes avatara. And this avatara is a great, like Swami Vivekananda says, in the ocean, the waves are coming and coming and coming. Sometimes, actually they have calculated, every 8th wave is biggest wave in the series of waves that you see. So in South Africa when I was there, I used to go to this seaside and I used to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that. Then 8th wave will come, a bigger wave will come. So I tallied this, yes it is true. But I have not tallied this in Puri, I have to once go and tally that. Because in Puri waves, in South African waves are very small waves. You can even count. But Puri waves is so big, 6 feet, 7 feet waves come. And they merge with the before waves, before you are counting they fall down. So fast they are. So anyway, we'll check that out. But then what I meant to tell you is, the biggest wave that comes behind, that is avatara. And the small droplets that come in the small wave, we are all like that. What is the difference? Only in the form. I am a small droplet. Vivekananda was a great, fascinating wave. So avatars are like that they are all waves. So these waves also comes. And then avatars, before or reaching the avatara, we require Guru. So Guru also comes in our life. And that Guru himself we consider Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara. So you see, these levels are there. But in English, there are not many words equivalent to these levels. So they say God, one word, G-O-D. So it's a beautiful word, God. But then to every level you apply that. So when I was first reading English Gospel of Ramakrishna, I came across one sentence. God does not create, does not dissolve. The word was there. After some pages, in another place, God creates this world. Then I was confused. Here Sri Ramakrishna says, God does not create. There, after a few pages, he says, God creates. What is the difference? Let me take the Bengali, the original version, see. Then I saw to my great surprise, the previous place, Sri Ramakrishna said, Brahma. Brahma does not create. Naturally, we all know that according to Shastras, Brahman does not do any action. It does not create. And another page he says, Bhagavan creates, Ishwar creates. Then it is okay, Ishwar only creates. But then you see in English, the suitable words are not there. So they use the one single word, God. But then that confuses our mind also. That's why I say, if you want to understand Sri Ramakrishna's teachings, you read English. Okay, it's very beautifully translated by Swami Nikhilanandaji. It's excellent. But then, if you know your own language, Indian language, study it in your Indian language. And if you have got more interest to study the original language that Sri Ramakrishna spoke, then learn Bengali and read it in Bengali. That will clarify many things. How Sri Ramakrishna spoke, how he stood, how he walked, all those things are described in the Vachanamritam in Hindi, and in Kannada what is called Vachana Veda. So please read that book and understand that. So this God principle has got different stages of our understanding according to the sages' experience. They have experienced all these levels. So the Nirvikalpa Samadhi is the final place where a person reaches, after which he cannot come back to the body. This Nirvikalpa Samadhi is a realization of that Supreme Brahman, Param Brahman, which is Nirakara Nirguna Brahman. That is the highest realization in our religion. That means how great our religion is. The sadhana, the path that has been given to us, they are so wonderful. There are many householders who have gone to the realization of Ishvara, realization of Bhagavan. Have you not seen in the history of the many saints who have, even in Karnataka, there are many saints who saw God with their own eyes. In Udupi, Sri Krishna turned his body to give darshan to his dear devotee. Likewise, in every state, you find the sages or the saints have seen God. That's why Sri Ramakrishna said to Naren, God can be seen. Such a powerful language. Can be seen, he says. In what way you will see? You will not see as the Parabrahman, mind you. you will see as Bhagavan, as Ishvara. In any of his tattvas, you can see him. So, these people, when they come, they have shown God in that level, in an avatar level, walking amidst us. They were just moving in India. Think of Swami Vivekananda. He came to many places. When I went today I came from Mysore. When I was there in Mysore, they took me to a place where Swamiji came and stayed. In a small room it is. You can go and see that. That place, very place where Swamiji moved. He must have walked in some roads. He must have come here. And the place, the bench where he sat is now in here within our ashram. You can go and see. That very bench is there where Swamiji sat. So, such wonderful people, they came to this world to guide us, to take us to a higher level of spirituality. So, what a wonderful day today to remember the last day of Swamiji. So, his leaving can be, in terms of English, you may say death, or you say demise, or you say left his mortal coil. Like that, so many words you say. But in Sanskrit, we don't use all these words. For saints, we use the word Mahasamadhi. Samadhi, you know, in yoga, Samadhi is the last part of the Ashtanga yoga. So, 8th step in yoga to realize self is Samadhi. So, in that Samadhi, the word coined here is Mahasamadhi. Samadhi means where the mind loses itself in the object. There is no difference between object and subject. There is only one thing. What is that X? You have to find it out. So there is no question of answering that question. But then in Maha, word answering this, adding Maha, said it's a grand, great Samadhi. That is meant for these sages. Because even we go into Samadhi, and then if we have got prarabdhas, then to work out the prarabdhas, you have to come. And some sages come like that. They stay for 2 years, 5 years, 10 years and go away. Even at the little age, they become realized soul. Like that we hear so many stories about many saints. But then in Mahasamadhi, there is no question of coming back. Unless next avatara, whoever may be, next avatara wants to bring the same assistant for his work in the future, then Vivekananda is coming back. So with these few words, let us go to the Arati now and think of Swamiji's beautiful life. And if you have the 2 volumes, please go through the last chapter of Swamiji, the titled Mahasamadhi. And that will give you great feeling of oneness with Swamiji. You can feel that Swamiji is mine. Swamiji is close to me. That type of feeling. You know, these are all personal feelings each one has to understand. Because I say, you should not believe it. You must feel that Swamiji is close to me. Like that, everyone must have that realization of that closeness with Swamiji. And then Swamiji is always ready to serve us. Till the last being gets mukti, I shall be coming again and again, he says. So Swamiji did not want moksha for himself. He wants moksha for all of us. Till the last being gets that moksha, he will be helping us. To that help, should we reject that help or accept that help? You have to decide in your own mind. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Sri Rama Krishna Arpanamastu.